right back from 2019, when he was forced to step back from public duties after that awful Newsnight interview, William was very much consulted then. You know, both William and the king, the now king, were furious about that. He gave that interview when Charles was on overseas manoeuvres. And, you know, William could sort of see the writing on the wall back then. He's always, and I've written this, he's always considered Andrew a threat, a reputational threat and risk to the monarchy. And that has only been borne out as the years have gone by. So he's been very closely involved. But I suspect there may be some further levers that William can pull in the future, and will.
Prince Andrew has been forced to renounce his royal titles, including perhaps his most famous, the Duke of York, after conversations with the King and royal family concluded that the continuing accusations around his links and friendship with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein risked overshadowing the monarchy. The changes also affect Prince Andrew's ex-wife, Sarah Ferguson, who will no longer be referred to as the Duchess of York. However, their children, Beatrice and Eugenie, will remain unaffected. But the news may end up giving the royal family another headache, because there are now calls, of course, for further transparency around, well, basically everything to do with the royal household. Let's speak to Roya Nikkah, who is the Sunday Times royal editor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely to see you on a busy weekend for you. What is your analysis of what's actually happened here? Because there's a kind of perception and a reality of what you're reporting this morning. Just break that down for us.
Well, I mean, what's actually happened is, you know, there's a lot of narrative around Andrew being stripped of his titles. He hasn't been stripped of his titles. I think if you break it down and you scratch under the surface of that statement that came last night from the palace at 7 o'clock, he's been asked to voluntarily give up his titles. Otherwise, I think it was being made clear to him that they would be taken away from him. But technically, although he's no longer going to use the title Duke of York, he remains the Duke of York. He still remains an HRH, even though that was taken away from him, 6 years ago. So I think perception-wise, a lot of people will feel, well, actually, what's materially changed? Yeah. And it's been made very clear, that from the palace that the king really has lost the battle of the siege of Royal Lodge. He's not moving from Royal Lodge, so he gets to stay in that palatial home with his ex-wife, Fergie. Okay, she's not going to be known as the Duchess of York anymore, but I think she'll probably grin and bear that. So I think there is still, in my opinion, there's still a bit of a perception and image problem around the whole problem of Prince Andrew. And I think what the palace would hope this statement would do is draw a line under the question of what do you do about the Prince Andrew problem. But I don't think it will draw a line under it at all.
It's also tricky, isn't it? Because his pariah status in the eyes of the public was confirmed years ago. And so it does almost look like the royal family has been playing catch up with that perception from the public at large.
I think it has felt like that. As someone who's been on this beat for a long time, it's felt like that the palace just have been wringing their hands and slightly turning the other way and going, well, what can we possibly do? The king has pulled every lever. But, I think the very fact that Prince Andrew is still living on a royal estate and still, we probably will still see him trotting around Windsor Great Park looking miserable. But he is still there. He's still in situ. And I think for a lot of people that won't sit easily. I mean, I've seen all the commentary from Virginia Giuffre's family saying this is a victory for her. But again, the uneasiness that he's still calling himself Prince. And as royal, aides and courtiers have said for the last few weeks, there's this dukedom hung in the balance. Even if you take it away, Prince sounds better than Duke anyway, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And he still gets to be called that. We will still refer to him as Prince Andrew. If there is a feeling also that there is more to come by way of detail about scandals involving Prince Andrew, what can the royal family do then? Is there any mileage left for them to take any sort of punitive action? I mean,
the only sort of further punitive action you could take on the titles is really to push through, to let it be known to Parliament that you would welcome that happening. Yeah. And he could be stripped of his title. And frankly, a lot of people think that probably should have happened at this stage. It's hard to know what else they can do. He is already effectively invisible. But, that's the problem. I think we might not have got to this point had 6 years ago the late Queen have taken more decisive action, but she couldn't quite bring herself to do it.
Yeah, because he really had support from the Queen at that point, didn't he, Prince Andrew? She didn't seem to be so assertive in taking action. Was it kind of tacit support, would you say?
She was fairly ruthless for the Queen. I mean, after Newsnight, she told him disappear. And when he settled with Virginia Giuffre in 2022, she took everything else away, the HRH styling, all the military patronage, and that was hard for her. But, the dukedom was never in question then, and she still saw him. And we were still in a scenario where, you might remember those images from Prince Philip's memorial service. He bypassed every private secretary there was, got into the car without Windsor, was filmed all the way to London, and walked her up the aisle of the Abbey. And, there were gasps. So, he was her weak spot. And I think a lot of these problems have stemmed from that. But we are 3 years into a new reign. There could have been a lot more decisive action taken over those 3 years.
To what extent do you think Prince William, has been part of this conversation in this direction in anticipation of one day being king, of course, whenever that will be? Is his role been important in this? It's
been very important, and it's something I'm going to dig into more in my coverage for the Sunday Times, so listeners can read all about that later on today and into tomorrow. Yeah, right back from 2019, when he was forced to step back from public duties after that awful Newsnight interview, William was very much consulted then. Both William and the king, the now king, were furious about that. He gave that interview when Charles was on overseas manoeuvres. And, William could sort of see the writing on the wall back then. He's always, and I've written this, he's always considered Andrew a threat, a reputational threat and risk to the monarchy. And that has only been borne out as the years have gone by. So he's been very closely involved, but I suspect there may be some further levers that William can pull in the future, and will.
Insofar as it's possible, Roya, what would you say is the level of damage that Prince Andrew has caused to the royal family?
I would say pretty catastrophic and undoable damage that he's caused to the monarchy. I think if you were to take, if you were to compare polls to what the monarchy stands for and what the public think of the monarchy before all of this started rumbling, and this has been going on since 2010, since, Epstein was convicted and all those photos came out. I think Prince Andrew has done such damage to the monarchy because despite all the brilliant work all of them do, and a lot, the King does a lot of laudable work in lots of sectors, so does William, the Queen, the Duchess of Edinburgh, both long-standing campaigners on victims of sexual abuse. This has cast such a long shadow over all their work.
Yeah. Would you like to tease us with anything else that we can expect from you in the Sunday Times?
No,
you don't
I
have
think
to.
Listeners,
that's fine.
Element of surprise and newness and freshness. So there'll be plenty of detail and plenty of analysis coming.
There always is, and we love it. Roya, thank you very much. Good to see you. That is Roya Nikkah, who is the Sunday Times Royal Editor. You will be able to get all of her reporting and analysis with your digital subscription. Go to thetimes.com if you don't already have one. Get one in anticipation of updates from Roya later on today and into tomorrow as well.